The message arrived without warning. It came through every interstellar relay, every colony signal, and every orbital station. The seal of the Galactic Council shone bright at the top of the transmission, a symbol of 1,000 civilizations united under one rule. For a long moment, silence covered the command chamber of the Geneva orbital station. The message flickered in golden light, its words translated into every human language at once. By the authority of the Galactic Council, it began, "The species known as humanity is hereby fined 1 trillion energy credits for technological disruption, market imbalance, and unauthorized innovation within Council-regulated space. Payment is expected within 1 standard cycle." A quiet gasp spread across the room. No one spoke. Ambassador Lynn Carter, leader of Earth's diplomatic division, stood at the center. Her expression stayed calm, but her hands tightened behind her back. Around her, a circle of world representatives, scientists, and military advisors looked at one another in disbelief. "Technological disruption?" muttered Dr. Yusuf Malik, the senior scientist who had helped design Earth's first fusion engines. "We gave them our engines for free. We shared medicine. We saved hundreds of colonies from famine. And this is what we get?" Across the table, Admiral Jonathan Reyes, commander of the Earth Defense Fleet, gave a small snort. "They're afraid. That's what this is." Lynn turned to him. "Afraid of what?" He met her eyes. "Afraid of us." For the last 20 years, humanity had moved faster than anyone expected. When Earth joined the Galactic Council, it was only a minor world with limited technology. The older races laughed at their primitive ships and short lifespans, but humans had something no other species had: a hunger to learn. They studied alien science, absorbed every bit of data they could find, and improved it. Within a decade, human scientists developed better fusion drives, faster than light communication, and compact terraformers. These inventions didn't just help humans. They spread across the galaxy. Planets that had been poor for centuries suddenly became rich. Diseases vanished. Crops grew faster. But there was a side effect. The Council's economic system began to crumble. For millennia, the Council's top races had controlled trade by selling advanced technology at high prices. Now, thanks to human innovation, everyone could build these things cheaply. Profits fell. Influence weakened. The older races blamed humans for the loss. And now, the fine had come. Lynn Carter read the message again, then calmly deactivated the screen. "Send this to the United Earth government," she said. "Every colony must see it. If the galaxy wants us to pay, we'll discuss it together." Her voice was firm, steady, but deep inside she felt the same unease as everyone else. The fine wasn't just money. It was a statement. The Council wanted to put humanity in its place. As the meeting ended, she stood by the observation window, looking down at Earth far below. Blue oceans, white clouds, and the glow of cities wrapped around the planet like jewels. For the first time in years, she wondered what the future would bring. A week later, the Global Response Summit began on Earth. Leaders from every human colony and station joined through holographic projectors. The conference hall in Geneva was filled with voices, some angry, some confused, all determined. President Asha Kaur of the United Earth Government opened the meeting. "This is not just a bill," she said. "It is a test of who we are. We have worked hard to earn respect among the stars. We will not bow to unfair demands." Admiral Reyes stood next. "If they think they can threaten us, they'll find we are not the same fragile species we once were. Our fleets can stand against any of their patrols if we must." But Lynn Carter raised a hand. "No," she said softly. "That's what they want, for us to act out of anger. If we respond with force, they'll call us dangerous. If we pay, they'll call us weak." "Then what do you suggest?" Reyes asked. Lynn's eyes sparkled. "We do what humans always do. We think." The room grew quiet. That night, Lynn stayed in her office long after everyone left. She opened old recordings of the Galactic Council, the great hall filled with alien diplomats, all speaking of peace while guarding their own power. She remembered her first visit there. Back then, humans were treated like children among giants. The other races had laughed politely at their ideas. Humans are too emotional, they'd said. Too unpredictable. They won't last long. But humanity had surprised them all. Now they were strong, creative, and united. Lynn smiled faintly. The Council might think they could buy Earth's submission with a fine, but they didn't understand what humans valued most. Freedom. She began writing a message. It was a reply to the Council's decree. Her words were calm but sharp, respectful yet confident. The people of Earth acknowledge your decision. We will attend the Council hearing to discuss this matter. But let it be known, humanity does not fear debt. We repay in our own way. When she finished, she leaned back and whispered to herself, "They forgot one thing. We didn't join the stars to serve. We joined to learn." A few days later, Earth's flagship UHS Resolute left orbit, carrying Lynn Carter, Admiral Reyes, and Dr. Malik aboard. The silver ship glided through the black sea of space toward the Galactic Council's capital world, Helion Prime. From the observation deck, Malik looked out at the endless stars. "You think they'll listen?" he asked. Lynn smiled. "They'll have to. The galaxy may not respect strength, but it always respects results." Reyes crossed his arms. "And if they don't?" "Then," Lynn said quietly, "we show them what humans can do without raising a single weapon." The stars stretched into streaks of light as the ship entered faster than light travel. Humanity was heading into the heart of the galaxy, not to beg, but to remind the universe why they belonged among the stars. When they arrived, the Galactic Hall of Judgment stood before them, a colossal structure made of crystal and light, orbiting a golden world. The hall was older than human civilization itself. Inside it sat the leaders of 1,000 species, each representing a different world, each watching closely. As the human delegation entered, whispers filled the air. There they are. The newcomers. The disruptors. The alien chairman, a tall crystalline being named Vorin, raised his hand. His body shimmered with reflected light. "Representatives of Earth," he said in a calm, echoing voice. "You stand accused of destabilizing galactic order through reckless innovation. Do you wish to speak before judgment?" Lynn stepped forward. "We do." She faced the crowd. Her voice carried through the hall like a calm wave. "Humanity never meant to harm anyone. We only shared what we discovered. We believed progress should belong to everyone, not to a few powerful worlds." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Some delegates nodded in agreement. Others frowned. Vorin tilted his crystalline head. "Your intentions are irrelevant. The balance of power has been broken. Payment is required." Lynn took a slow breath. "Then you will get your payment, Chairman, but not the way you expect." Vorin's lights flickered uncertainly. "Explain yourself." Lynn smiled faintly. "You asked us to pay for changing the galaxy. Very well. We will pay, by changing it again." The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned toward her. Even Vorin seemed unsure how to respond, but Lynn said nothing more. She simply bowed and turned to leave. Behind her, Admiral Reyes whispered, "You just declared a war of ideas." Lynn nodded. "That's the only kind of war humans should ever fight." As the UHS Resolute departed Helion Prime, humanity's future hung in the balance. The Council expected payment in numbers, but Lynn Carter and her team were already planning something far greater. They would answer the Council's demand not with gold or energy, but with something the galaxy had never seen: the power of human unity, creativity, and kindness. The storm was coming, but this time it would not destroy, it would build. And somewhere among the stars, the galaxy waited to see what humanity would do next. The stars above Helion Prime burned like diamonds as the human ship, UHS Resolute, drifted toward the shining capital of the Galactic Council. The city below was a sea of light, towers made of crystal, roads that floated in the air, and ships moving like silver fish through the atmosphere. From the viewing window, Ambassador Lynn Carter stood quietly, her reflection shining against the starlight. She had been here once before, years ago, when humanity was still new among the stars. Back then, the other races had looked at humans with polite curiosity. Small, short-lived creatures with big dreams. Now, they looked with fear. Behind her, Admiral Jonathan Reyes adjusted his uniform. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. Lynn smiled slightly. "No," she admitted, "but it's the right thing to do." Beside them, Dr. Yusuf Malik, humanity's top scientist, checked his datapad nervously. "They already decided the fine before we arrived. They're not here to listen, Lynn. They're here to make an example of us." Lynn turned to him calmly. "Then we'll give them one they'll never forget." The Galactic Hall of Judgment was the largest structure ever built. It could hold millions of beings, each seat representing a different civilization. The ceiling looked like an open sky, filled with moving constellations. When the human delegation entered, the noise of the chamber slowly faded. Countless eyes turned toward them. Some glowed, some shimmered, some were hidden behind masks, but every one of them watched. At the center stood Chairman Vorin, a being of living crystal, whose voice echoed like music. "Representatives of Earth," he said, "you have come before the Council to address your violation of interstellar stability. You are accused of spreading technology without authorization and causing the economic collapse of several systems." Lynn stepped forward, her voice calm. "We have shared knowledge freely. We believe progress should be shared, not sold. Humanity has no wish to control others." A low ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Some species murmured in agreement. Others hissed disapproval. Vorin raised one gleaming arm. "Intentions do not erase results. Because of your inventions, dozens of trade unions have fallen. The order we built for millennia now trembles. The Council demands payment, 1 trillion energy credits." Reyes crossed his arms, his jaw tight. "That's impossible. No world could pay that much." Vorin's light flickered. "Then perhaps your species should have thought of that before changing the galaxy." Lynn's eyes were calm, but there was steel behind them. "We changed it for the better. Or would you prefer we let people suffer just to keep your market steady?" The chamber filled with sharp murmurs. The Council did not like her tone, but there was truth in her words. And truth had power. From one of the upper seats, a feathered alien delegate stood. "My people, the Igrin, received the human terraforming tech," he said. "Our world now blooms again after centuries of dust storms. Humanity asked for no payment. Only cooperation. Should we punish them for that?" A reptilian merchant hissed from another seat. "Yes. Their generosity destroyed our trade routes. They flood the market with free machines. We have lost billions." "Perhaps," Lynn said softly, "you should have built better machines." Gasps rippled across the hall. Vorin's crystals glowed brighter, like a warning. "Ambassador Carter, control your tone. You stand before the Council, not a marketplace." Lynn bowed her head slightly. "Of course, Chairman. But I speak the truth. You call it disruption. We call it progress." Dr. Malik stepped forward, activating a hologram projector. A blue light filled the room, showing images of human contributions across the galaxy. "Here," he said, "is the world of Kurthan IV. Once lifeless. Now a garden thanks to our terraforming. Here is Veltara, where human doctors cured the Red Plague. And this," he continued, showing a spinning station, "is Unity Hub, where humans and aliens work side by side to create clean energy for everyone." He turned toward the Council. "These are the results of our so-called crimes. No fleets, no wars, only knowledge shared." For a moment, even the Council was silent. But Vorin finally spoke. "Your efforts are admirable, yet the Council's balance must be maintained. If every species acted as freely as yours, chaos would follow. There must be order." Lynn met his gaze. "Order without fairness is not peace, Chairman. It's control." Her words hung in the air like a challenge. At that moment, a tall, silver-skinned alien stood from the third row. He was High Envoy to Sol, leader of the Tharn Dominion, one of the most powerful factions in the Council. "Chairman Vorin," he said, his voice smooth but cold, "you speak of order, yet you fear competition. The humans have done in 50 years what your Council failed to do in 5,000. Maybe the problem is not humanity. Maybe it's the system itself." Gasps filled the hall. Tisol smiled slightly. "We trade with the humans. We prospered because of them. The Dominion will not vote to punish progress. Voron's glow dimmed slightly. You risk much by defending them, envoy. Tassal shrugged. Perhaps. But I'd rather stand with builders than with those who fear the future. Lynn gave him a small nod of gratitude. Hours passed. The hearing stretched long into the artificial night. One by one delegates spoke, some in favor of humanity, others against. Arguments filled the air, yet nothing changed the council's mood. Finally, the vote came. Thousands of lights appeared across the chamber, each representing a world. Red meant guilt, green meant innocence. When the count ended, the result glowed across the ceiling. Guilty, 623 to 377. The council had spoken. Voron's voice echoed once more. The verdict stands. Humanity must pay within one standard cycle. Failure to do so will result in trade restrictions and the suspension of Earth's council membership. Lynn stood silently for a moment. Her eyes scanned the endless seats filled with shining lights. Then she looked up toward the council crest, a symbol meant to represent unity. She smiled faintly. Chairman, she said softly, the council believes it can buy obedience with numbers and fear. But humans don't pay debts that way. We pay in kind through action. Voron tilted his head. Are you refusing the judgment? No, Lynn replied. We are accepting it, and we will pay. In a way only humans can. With that, she turned and walked away. Outside the hall, Dr. Malik looked worried. Lynn, what does that mean? What are you planning? She smiled. You'll see soon enough. If they want proof that humans belong in the galaxy, we'll give it to them. Not with credits, but with kindness and brilliance. Reyes frowned. You mean we're just going to give more technology? That's what got us into this in the first place. Lynn shook her head. Not just technology. Hope. When the UHS Resolute left Helion Prime, the stars ahead seemed endless and full of promise. Humanity had lost the hearing, but something far greater had been set in motion. In every colony and every outpost, people began to talk, not about the fine, but about what it meant. Why should humans pay for helping others? Why should sharing be punished? Messages spread fast, carried by human transmitters and friendly aliens who admired their courage. Soon entire planets were asking the same question. If humans are guilty for helping us, what does that make us for accepting their help? The galaxy was starting to think differently. In her cabin aboard the Resolute, Lynn Carter looked out at the stars. Dr. Malik entered quietly. You realize they'll come after us for this. The council doesn't like being embarrassed. I know, Lynn said softly. But every great change begins with someone saying no to unfair rules. Reyes appeared at the door, a small grin on his face. So what's the next step? Lynn turned from the window, her eyes bright with determination. They asked us to pay. We will, but not in the way they expect. We'll pay by building something so big, so helpful, that they can never threaten anyone like this again. Malik blinked. You mean, yes, Lynn said, smiling. We'll build a new network across the stars, one that belongs to everyone. One the council can't control. Reyes whistled. That's ambitious. It's human, Lynn replied simply. As the UHS Resolute jumped into faster-than-light travel, Earth's message began to spread. A quiet promise whispered through every channel of space. Humanity will pay its debt, not in wealth, but in wisdom. Not in fear, but in friendship. And somewhere in the shining halls of the Galactic Council, Chairman Voron watched the transmission with silent unease. He did not understand humanity's plan, but deep inside his crystalline core he felt something new. Not anger, not victory, fear. Because for the first time the Council's power was no longer absolute. The humans were not fighting back with weapons. They were fighting back with hope. And that, Voron realized, might be the most dangerous weapon in the universe. The news of the Council's find spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every space station, every trade hub, and every colony talked about it. The humans must pay 1 trillion credits, shouted one broadcast on the Velnar network. They dared to challenge the Council, whispered another. But among ordinary people, the farmers, workers, and explorers of the stars, the story sounded different. They're being punished for helping us, one alien miner said. That's not justice. Within weeks, half the galaxy was discussing Earth. On the Geneva orbital station, Earth's leaders gathered once again. The mood was heavy but determined. The stars outside glowed faintly beyond the wide glass windows. Ambassador Lynn Carter stood at the center of the chamber, facing the holographic Council of Earth's representatives. Admiral Jonathan Reyes sat beside her, arms folded, and Dr. Yusuf Malik was busy showing data on his projector. President Asha Kar spoke first. The Council's decision is final. We have one cycle to pay, or they'll cut off our trade. What do you suggest, Ambassador? Lynn looked calm. We pay them, she said softly. The room erupted in shock. Pay them? Reyes repeated. Lynn, that's impossible. Even if we emptied every colony, we couldn't gather 1 trillion credits. Lynn smiled faintly. I didn't say we'd pay with credits. Malik looked confused. Then how? With progress, Lynn replied. They find us for changing the galaxy, so we'll change it again. Over the next few days, plans began to take shape. Lynn Carter met with scientists, engineers, and diplomats from every human world. She asked them one question. If you could give the galaxy one thing, something that can't be taxed, controlled, or restricted, what would it be? Some said knowledge, some said food, others said hope. And so the idea was born. Project Unity. Its purpose was simple, yet powerful. Build a vast network of human aid stations, data relays, and fusion-powered outposts across neutral space. Every station would give free technology, medicine, and education to any species. No payment required. It was humanity's way of saying you cannot find kindness. Work began immediately. On Mars, engineers built the first relay station frame. On Luna, fusion cores were prepared by teams of volunteers. Across the colonies of Titan, Europa, and New Eden, millions of people worked together, powered not by orders, but by belief. They weren't building for profit or politics. They were building to prove that goodness could be stronger than greed. Admiral Reyes, though skeptical at first, became the project's chief logistic officer. His fleets carried materials, guarded trade routes, and escorted supply ships into deep space. Dr. Malik designed small, self-replicating drones that could build relay towers faster than ever before. Everywhere, humans and aliens worked side by side. One of the first completed outposts was Unity Station 1, located in the quiet orbit of a small moon near the neutral system of Avern. It was not large, but it was beautiful, a shining white ring surrounded by glowing solar wings. The human flag was joined with dozens of alien symbols, a sign of shared effort. When the station went online, Lynn Carter gave a simple message that was broadcast across the stars. To all worlds in need, for you are welcome here. No payment, no politics, no fear. Humanity's debt is to the galaxy, and we choose to repay it with hope. The message spread faster than light. Refugee ships, damaged freighters, and sick travelers began arriving at Unity Station. They received food, repairs, and medicine, all for free. For the first time, the galaxy saw something the Council had never imagined, a civilization helping others without expecting anything in return. Chairman Voran of the Galactic Council was furious. In his crystal office on Helion Prime, he slammed his glowing hand against the data console. This is not payment, he declared. This is rebellion through charity. Around him, the Council's senior members murmured nervously. The humans are gaining allies, said one. Several border worlds are joining their network. They're calling it the Human Coalition, added another. Even our traders are using their new relay routes. The Council's stations are losing business. Voran's lights flickered in frustration. They think kindness will replace order? They are fools. Their network will collapse under its own weight. But deep inside, he wasn't so sure. The reports were troubling. Every world that received help from the humans now spoke highly of them. In a few short months, the Human Coalition was becoming more powerful than the Council itself. Meanwhile, on Earth, Lynn Carter walked through the construction yard of the next Unity Station. Giant rings of metal floated in orbit, reflecting the sunlight. Workers cheered as a new beacon activated, sending a pulse of blue light across the void. Reyes joined her, wearing his standard Navy uniform. You've done it, he said. You turned a find into a movement, Lynn smiled. Not me, all of us. This is what humanity does best, and we turn pressure into progress. Dr. Malik approached with a tablet in hand. Unity Station 2 is ready to deploy, and we've just received a message from the Tharn Dominion. They want to build one of their own. Lynn raised an eyebrow. The same Tharn Dominion that supported us in the hearing? The very same, Malik said with a grin. They've offered to share their mining tech to help build more stations. Lynn nodded slowly. Then we'll accept. But remind them this isn't a human empire. It's a coalition of equals, Malik smiled. You really think the Council can stop this? Lynn looked at the glowing planet below. They can't stop an idea whose time has come. Weeks passed. Then months. Across the galaxy, Unity stations began appearing like stars, one in every sector, glowing with the human symbol of the open hand. Worlds that had once been ignored by the Council now thrived with human help. On the frozen world of Keltor, a small alien village received its first warmth through human-built fusion cores. On Velan 9, farmers learned how to grow food in poor soil using Earth's hydroponic tech. And on the trade moon Draelus, a mixed crew of humans and aliens repaired hundreds of ships stranded by old Council taxes. Everywhere hope was spreading. The Galactic Council could not ignore it any longer. In their Golden Hall, Chairman Vorin called another emergency meeting. The humans are undermining our authority, he warned. They have no army, yet they control half the galaxy's trade. They have no empire, yet every world listens to them. One of the elder delegates sighed. Perhaps it is not control, Chairman. Perhaps it is trust. Trust? Vorin repeated. You think trust will maintain order? The galaxy needs rules, not feelings. But even as he spoke, messages arrived from countless worlds, all praising humanity's efforts. The Council's own citizens were now using human-built stations for communication, trade, and travel. The irony was painful. Humanity's punishment had made them indispensable. Back on Earth, Lynn received a private message from an unknown source. When she opened it, the image of Chairman Vorin appeared. You are clever, Ambassador, he said, his crystalline voice calmer now. But you are playing a dangerous game. The Council will not allow this rebellion to continue. Lynn replied softly. This is no rebellion, Chairman. This is cooperation. You asked us to pay for what we changed. We are paying, by changing it again. Vorin's lights dimmed slightly. You cannot replace the Council, Lynn smiled. We don't want to. We just want a galaxy that doesn't fear progress. The image flickered and vanished, leaving Lynn alone with her thoughts. She knew the Council would not give up easily. But she also knew something powerful had begun. Something no one could stop. Months later, Unity stations linked together through a vast network of light, forming what people now called the Star Web. Every world connected through it could share data instantly, trade freely, and access clean energy. The Council's old laws of restriction began to crumble. Species that had once fought now worked together. And everywhere, the same message appeared on every screen, written in simple human words. We are stronger together. This is humanity's way of paying back the stars. From her office aboard Unity Station Prime, Lynn Carter looked out at the galaxy map before her. The glowing dots of human-built stations stretched farther than she ever imagined. Reyes entered quietly. The Council's losing its grip, he said. They can't compete anymore, Lynn nodded. Then maybe they'll finally learn what we've known all along. That power isn't about ruling others. It's about lifting them. Malik joined them with a bright smile. Lynn, we just got confirmation. The last Unity station is online. The Star Web is complete. Lynn stared at the stars for a long moment. We've done it, she whispered. We paid our debt, in hope, not fear. Outside the window, the Star Web pulsed like a living light, connecting worlds across the galaxy. Humanity's response had not been war, nor surrender, but something far greater, a gift that would change the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council Chamber, once a place of order and power, now felt restless and uneasy. The grand hall, made of glowing crystal and steel, shimmered under artificial starlight, but behind the beauty lay growing fear. The council members had gathered for an emergency session, something that had not happened in over a century. Vorin, the crystalline being who served as the council's chairman, stood at the center podium. His light flickered in uneven patterns, a sign of frustration among his kind. Order, he called out, but the noise of arguments echoed through the hall. Dozens of alien ambassadors were shouting at once. Some accused humans of manipulation. Others defended them. The council, once united, was now divided. The humans are spreading too fast, a scaled creature hissed from his seat. They are building stations in schools across the neutral zones. Soon every young race will follow their example. A bird-like ambassador replied, her feathers glowing blue. And what is wrong with that? They are helping the poor worlds that we ignored for years. Perhaps we should learn from them. Vorin slammed his crystalline hand on the podium. Enough! This meeting is to address the growing crisis, not to praise humanity. The noise slowly faded, but tension remained heavy in the air. Meanwhile, on Earth, the skies above Geneva Orbital Station glowed with hundreds of departing ships. Each vessel carried supplies, machines, or teachers to faraway worlds. Humanity's plan was moving faster than anyone expected. Dr. Malik watched from the viewing platform as a fleet of silver ships disappeared into the stars. It's beautiful, he said softly. We are building bridges instead of walls. Admiral Reyes stood beside him, arms crossed. And those bridges are shaking the whole galaxy. Malik smiled. Yes, but in a good way. They both turned as Lynn Carter entered the room. Her calm eyes reflected the starlight outside. She carried a message tablet, the latest news from the Galactic Council. The Council has called another emergency meeting, she said. They're afraid of our influence. Reyes raised an eyebrow. They should be. We're changing everything without firing a single weapon. Lynn sat down and looked at both of them. We didn't do this to conquer. We did this to remind them that cooperation is stronger than fear. But now we must decide what to do next. Back in the council hall, panic was spreading faster than calm. Reports poured in from all corners of the galaxy. Trade routes are shifting to human zones, said one ambassador. Half of our energy trade is being handled through their new stations. Even my homeworld has joined their coalition, another admitted quietly. Our people say that humans share technology freely. No fees, no control, just trust. Vorin's body flickered again. They are using kindness as a weapon, he said coldly. Do you not see it? Every race that accepts their help becomes loyal to them. The council is losing authority. The room grew silent. Even those who disliked humanity could not deny the truth. The council's influence was fading. Finally, one elderly alien whose species resembled walking coral spoke slowly. Perhaps authority is not what we should fight for. Perhaps we should ask what the humans truly want. Vorin turned sharply. They want power. Every young species desires it. But even as he said it, he remembered Lynn Carter's calm voice from months ago. We joined to learn, not to rule. A week later, humanity sent a message to the Council. It was short and polite. We invite the Galactic Council to visit Earth and witness the results of our payment. You will see that our actions are meant for unity, not for harm. Many council members refused to go. They feared it was a trap or a display of power. But Vorin agreed to lead a small delegation. He wanted to see with his own eyes what the humans were doing. When their ship entered Earth's orbit, Vorin was stunned. The planet looked brighter than ever before. Hundreds of space stations surrounded it, connected by glowing rings of light. Ships from dozens of alien worlds flew peacefully through the same routes. On the main docking platform, Lynn Carter greeted them with a smile. Welcome to Earth, she said warmly. Vorin studied her closely. Your world has changed much since we last met. It's not just our world, Lynn replied. It's everyone's world now. She led them through the International Space Academy, a massive structure filled with alien students. Small beings with blue skin studied next to human engineers. Floating robots assisted them, speaking in dozens of languages. Dr. Malik showed Vorin the fusion garden, a large dome where small suns powered entire cities without pollution or cost. This technology, Malik said, is now shared freely. Any species can build their own. Vorin's crystal body glowed in confusion. Why give it away? You could rule the galaxy with this, Lynn answered gently. Because ruling is easy. Helping is harder, but it lasts longer. Vorin had no reply. Back in the council hall days later, the news of Vorin's visit spread quickly. Some ambassadors demanded that the council accept humanity's example. Others still resisted, fearing the loss of their privileges. The argument reached its breaking point when one delegate stood and shouted, "The people of my planet are marching in the streets. They demand that we join the human coalition. They trust the humans more than us." Vorin raised a hand. The hall fell silent. He looked tired but thoughtful. Then perhaps the time of the old council is over, he said quietly. A hush spread across the chamber. For the first time, Voren did not sound angry, only sad. In the following months, change swept through the galaxy like a gentle storm. World after world left the old council to join the human coalition. Trade routes stabilized again, this time under fairer rules. Human-built stations became meeting grounds where alien and human leaders spoke as equals. Earth did not demand tribute. Instead, it offered guidance, science, and friendship. One alien leader said in a broadcast, "The humans were ordered to pay, and they paid us all with hope." Voren watched the speech from his chamber. The light of his body dimmed to a soft blue, a color of peace among his kind. He finally understood that the Council's fear had blinded them. The humans had not destroyed the galaxy's balance. They had restored it. Months later, Voren traveled once more to Earth. This time he came not as an accuser, but as a guest. He stood beside Lynn Carter at the opening of the first United Galactic Coalition Summit, held on the Moon. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the Great Hall, their voices calm and united. Voren looked at Lynn. "You won," he said softly. Lynn smiled. "No, we won." "The galaxy did." Voren nodded slowly, the light within him shining brighter. "Then perhaps it is time to rebuild one together." The crowd erupted in applause. The summit marked a new era, one not ruled by fear or debts but by trust and unity. From orbit, Earth shone like a jewel of light among the stars, no longer a small blue planet asking for acceptance, but a beacon guiding the galaxy toward peace. As Lynn looked out from the Moon's glass dome, she whispered, "They wanted us to pay. And we did more with kindness." Dr. Malik stood beside her. "And it was worth every credit we never sent." Admiral Reyes laughed softly. "Let's hope they don't send another bill." They smiled together, watching the stars where thousands of ships, human and alien alike, traveled side by side. The crisis had ended not with war but with understanding. The Galactic Council had learned that true leadership came not from control, but from compassion. And in that quiet moment, humanity's greatest victory became clear. They didn't just change the galaxy, they inspired it. The stars shone brighter than ever above the Milky Way. From orbit, Earth looked like a small but proud jewel, surrounded by a web of glowing human-built stations connecting distant planets. Ships of all shapes and colors traveled between them, carrying goods, teachers, and aid. Humanity's plan, which had started as a quiet act of defiance, had become a galaxy-wide movement. The human coalition had grown stronger with every passing day, welcoming worlds that had once felt neglected or oppressed. The Council's orders, once feared, were now a faint memory, a lesson in underestimating humans. On Unity Station Prime, Ambassador Lynn Carter prepared for the opening of the first permanent summit of the United Galactic Coalition. Leaders from hundreds of worlds had arrived, some reluctantly, some eagerly, but all curious to witness the humans in action. Dr. Yusuf Malik adjusted the final holographic displays, showing statistics and maps of the star web, the human-built network linking planets with energy, knowledge, and hope. Admiral Jonathan Reyes oversaw the fleet stationed around the summit to ensure safety, though there had been no incidents in months. "This is bigger than I imagined," Malik whispered. "Every species you see here trusts us now. They follow our example." Lynn nodded. "Not us," she said quietly. "They follow the idea that helping each other is stronger than fear or control." Reyes raised an eyebrow. "And the Council?" "They're watching," Lynn said, "and learning." The Council's delegation, led by Chairman Voren, arrived shortly after. He had traveled alone, without the usual entourage of officials and guards. His crystalline body shimmered under the summit lights, reflecting both pride and caution. Voren approached Lynn as the human and alien leaders gathered. "Ambassador Carter," he said, his voice soft, "you have done something remarkable. I came to see if your coalition would collapse under pressure. Instead, I see strength, unity, and trust." "Perhaps I misjudged humanity," Lynn smiled. "You judged us by numbers and rules, Chairman. But humans follow something greater: curiosity, courage, and compassion. We don't conquer. We build." Voren's glow brightened slightly. "Then the galaxy has much to learn from you." The summit began formally. Delegates presented updates from their worlds: new schools, medical stations, and energy hubs powered by human technology. Stories of planets once struggling with famine or disease now thriving filled the chamber. One ambassador, a small amphibious creature from the swamp world of Grelia, spoke through a translator. Our children can now go to school. Our crops survive droughts thanks to your technology. We will always be grateful to the humans for showing us how to grow, how to learn, and how to care. Applause echoed across the chamber. Humans had done what no one expected. They had turned punishment into inspiration. Even the council members found themselves changed by what they saw. Chairman Vorin spoke to the assembly. I have observed the humans work firsthand. Their methods are different, yes, unorthodox, but the results are undeniable. They do not rule by fear. They do not demand payment. They lift others, and in doing so they have strengthened the galaxy itself. A murmur of agreement moved through the delegates. Some still feared change, but none could deny the humans' influence. Lynn Carter stepped forward to address the assembly. The council asked humanity to pay a debt. We accepted, but we paid not with money or force, and we paid with hope. We paid with progress, and now the galaxy itself is stronger because of it. Let us continue to work together, not as rulers and subjects, but as partners in a shared future. Her words echoed like a promise. Outside the summit hall, the star web pulsed across space. Every world connected by human stations now communicated in real time. Resources moved efficiently. Education spread rapidly. Health improved. Even the Council's own networks began to rely on human technology for faster communication and relief during disasters. On the far side of the galaxy, small planets that had once been ignored were now thriving. Children laughed in classrooms powered by fusion energy. Farmers grew abundant crops in soil that had been considered infertile. Scientists collaborated across species, creating innovations faster than ever before. And through it all, humans did not seek control or credit. They only offered assistance and guidance. One evening on Unity Station Prime, Lynn Carter walked alone through the observation deck. The galaxy stretched before her, a tapestry of light and movement. Admiral Reyes joined her quietly. It's amazing, he said. All of this. We've really changed the galaxy. Lynn smiled faintly. Not us, the people of every world did this. Humans only showed them how. Malik approached with a data pad in hand. You realize the Council is now listening to us more than any other civilization. Lynn nodded. Yes, and they're learning the most important lesson. Leadership is about service, not domination. Humans are strong not because we conquer, but because we lift others. Reyes shook his head in wonder. And to think it all started with a fine. Lynn laughed softly. Sometimes the universe gives you a challenge and you turn it into an opportunity. That's what humans do best. Meanwhile, back on Helion Prime, Chairman Vorin reflected on the transformation of the galaxy. He walked along the halls of the Council, once filled with tension and hierarchy. Now he noticed something new. Smaller races, previously ignored, now spoke openly and confidently. They shared ideas, collaborated with other species, and even consulted Vorin on projects. For the first time, he realized the truth. The galaxy had changed, not because humans demanded it, but because they inspired it. The Council could no longer rely on fear to maintain order. Influence had shifted, quietly, subtly, and permanently, toward those who chose to build rather than destroy. Weeks later, the United Galactic Coalition held its first Peace and Progress Festival on Earth. Delegates and citizens from hundreds of species came together to celebrate their shared achievements. Music, art, and stories from across the galaxy filled the cities. Schools and hospitals built with human technology opened for tours. Lynn Carter stood on a balcony overlooking the festival. Children of many species played together, their laughter filling the air. Humanity's dream of cooperation was no longer a plan, it was reality. Reyes joined her, smiling. You know, I never imagined humans could make so many friends in the galaxy. Lynn looked at the children. It's not friendship in the usual sense. It's trust. And trust lasts longer than armies or credits, Malik nodded. And it all started with a challenge. A fine from the Council. Yes, Lynn said. They tried to punish us, but we paid in the only currency that matters. Hope. In the months and years that followed, the galaxy continued to change. The star web expanded beyond what anyone had imagined. Planets once isolated now shared knowledge freely. Scientists collaborated across species. Children learned from teachers of every world. Trade routes flourished under fairness, not greed. The Galactic Council itself adapted, inspired by humanity's example. New laws emphasized cooperation rather than domination. Disputes were settled through dialogue, not threats. And slowly, fear of humans faded, replaced by admiration. Voran visited Earth one last time. Standing beside Lynn Carter, he admitted, "I was wrong. Humanity does not take for itself. You lift the galaxy, and in doing so you are its leaders, without ruling it." Lynn smiled. "We never wanted to rule. We only wanted to remind the galaxy what it can be when everyone works together." On the final night of the festival, Lynn walked outside under the stars. She looked at the glowing network of human stations connecting distant worlds. Ships moved between planets carrying food, medicine, teachers, and engineers. Every world was a little brighter, a little safer, a little happier because of what humanity had done. Reyes joined her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Do you ever worry that one day someone will try to undo all this?" Lynn shook her head. "The galaxy has learned something more important than fear. It has learned hope, cooperation, and unity. No one can take that away." Malik appeared with a small device in hand showing messages from dozens of worlds. Every message carried gratitude, encouragement, or request for help. Lynn smiled and looked up at the stars. "We were ordered to pay a debt, and we did. But the payment was not money. It was something far greater, a gift that will last for generations." The stars above seemed to shine in agreement, a galaxy united not by fear, but by trust. Humanity had faced its challenge and risen. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it meant when humans said they could not be controlled. They were builders. They were teachers. They were hope. And the galaxy, now awake to the power of unity and kindness, would never forget them.